Hey, you're probably wondering how I got here right now. Let me show you. Really wasn't that big of a deal. When I set out to make this model of Rhea Ripley, the only things I really had in mind going in was I wanted to basically make a full body model that I could animate and just do a quick little animation. I was thinking maybe like her entrance, you know, when she like does her little when she does her little like thing or whatever with her foot, you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. That's kind of what I had in mind when I set out to make this project. That's what I was picturing in my brain. But if you notice, that's not exactly what ended up happening in the end result. And that, simply put, is because I just gave up. Okay, so not entirely, but let me show you the first attempt. First things first, we delete the default cube, add a cube. Make that cube look circle, push and pull circle until human shape. Make look human, balls, eyes, unga boonga. Anyway, I threw on some eyebrows and did the greatest hair block out of all time. And finally, she was done. Isn't she beautiful? Alright, video's over. So honestly, at this point, I decided it's time to go back to the drawing board. And there's a dog. Next to a mess that my daughter left this morning that I haven't cleaned up yet, there's a dog. Coochie, coochie. Coochie. Coochie, coochie. So we ran it back through the drawing board because you see, for the last year and a half or so, I haven't really been using Blender all that much, but because life tends to find a way. When I was using it, I was mainly working on a specific like personal project that didn't really end up going anywhere. So I haven't sculpted anything in quite some time, and so I decided to check out an old course that I had bought. This course by Kent Trammell, I believe is how you'd say that, is called Human Realistic Portrait Creation with Blender. Not that Blender. What this course does is it takes you through the process of creating a photorealistic person. And while I both was not trying to create photorealistic, nor create a male, this course was going to be a huge help for me when it came to blocking out the face, because I have a really hard time for some reason translating my references to 3D. Like right around that like jawline, like cheekbone area, like right over there. I'm not really sure what it is. I just have trouble visualizing that, and I constantly mess with it to the point that then I don't recognize the sculpt that I'm working on. So I figured this course would be a pretty good way to get those fundamental shapes down, and it does have parts where you transition a more masculine face to a feminine or like younger or older, depending on what you're trying to do. But it does help me out here because some of Rhea's strongest features do lean into a more traditional masculine direction. So after following the course, I felt really good about my general block out, adding in more details. Even though I'm aware that she just straight up looks like a dude, trust the process. Just trust in the process. Trust in the heart of the process. But once I had the face shape looking pretty good, it was time to make some changes, make it look a bit more Rhea. And honestly, that was a struggle I had in this course because I'm trying to follow the course to get the shapes right, but the shapes that I need are not the shapes in the video. But I personally felt it was necessary to follow the course to make sure that I had fundamentals down before I started making it my own and stylizing it. But once we were there, it was definitely looking a lot more like Rhea. But throughout this entire process, I did end up going back in and doing touch-ups here and there till it looked a bit more Rhea to me, more or less. I'm not even gonna lie, there was a couple times while I was doing the sculpt that I was looking at it and I was like, this looks kind of like the lead singer from Motionless in White. But when you realize that Rhea in all of her makeup and Chris Motionless look like they could be siblings, I was pretty sure I was on the right track. So I had tried to sculpt like the general outline of the hair. I've never fully done it before, so there is a little part of me that's like, I should probably learn how to sculpt hair. Maybe it's good, maybe not, just something I'd like to be able to do. But I'm impatient, so I said screw it, and I went back to the method that I know, which is curves, which honestly does help with a stylized character quite a bit. And when it came to retopology, I mostly followed the same course, but I couldn't fully because my sculpt looked a little different. And honestly, after doing the retopology, some of the areas, mainly the ears, weren't done the best, if I'm being honest. But if I'm also being honest, this was just for a sculpt, and I wasn't going to animate it, so it doesn't matter. But if the plan was to animate this, while I'm sure this would have been fine, I would probably redo the ear and retopologize it a little bit more smartly. So I used Blender's texture painting feature to get the initial look of the skin, and for this I did follow the course, mostly because I've always heard that when texture painting a person, there's always this rule where like the top half of the head is yellow, the middle-ish is red, and then the bottom is kind of a blue. And whenever I try to do it that way, I just felt like I did too much red, even though maybe a reference model does have a lot of red. It just always didn't look right to me for some reason. So I thought maybe I'll just try it this way and see what happens. And overall, I was pretty happy with the look. I did end up getting rid of the blue on the chin area because it ended up looking more like a 5 o'clock shadow. So I just made that area a little bit more of a reddish pink. And after I set up some lights, the backdrop, plugged in a little bit of this into a little bit of that, we had the final result. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the end result. There are a few times where I look at it and I just don't really like it because I had a vision in mind and I just don't really think I was able to translate what was in my brain into the screen. But then there's other times where I do look at it and I am pretty happy, especially with knowing that it was the first sculpt that I've done in over a year. But just for funsies, I hooked up a toon shader and completely nullified all the hard work that I did on that texture paint. But you know what? I kinda like it. That's about it for me, though, here. I hope you enjoyed the video. I've got some pretty cool ideas for different styles that are completely different than anything that we got going on here. But I got some ideas for some projects I want to work on. I'm already kind of dabbling into some stuff right now. So tune in. We're going to have more videos. It's going to be nice. I enjoyed the sculpt. I hope you enjoyed the video and hope you enjoy the sculpt. Thank you all for watching. I'm Dusty Mill. Bye, everybody. I bet you can feel this.